Good morning. Welcome to the Java Cafe, Java Fam.
Good morning, everybody. Let me get this together over here. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Good morning. Today is Tuesday, September 10th, 2024. You are here in the Java Cafe this morning. My name is James Jimmy Hills. I'm your host. And we have a guest today that's going to come in and chat with us about something that is very important to me. There are some other reasons and definitely an important issue, but one of the things that we're going to talk about today is a new requirement by the federal government of a real ID. And one of the things is, in order for you to travel domestically, to go hop on a plane and just go somewhere, you're going to need this real ID. And so that to me is major, but also I believe to enter federal courthouses. This has been something I've been familiar with, I want to say since late 18 or from late 18 to mid 19 that a real ID was going to be required. I don't remember the first date, but due to COVID, the date is got pushed back a few times, and our registrar is going to tell us more about it. But that's one of the main things we're going to talk about today. We're going to hear her story as how she landed as the registrar there. And I have to admit, you all remember some years ago, the registry may have not been as user-friendly as some of us would have liked, and she and former registrars would have liked. I don't know about y'all, but I don't hear that as much anymore, posts and, tweets and stuff. And so I'm sure she's been a part of it and building on the former registrars as well. And so without further ado, because I know her time is precious and we have a lot of information to share with you this morning, I would like to bring in our registrar. Ogilvie. And I'm making it more complicated because I believe that name pronunciation is definitely important. And so welcome to the Java Cafe this morning, registrar. And I almost am inclined to call you commissioner, but you're actually the registrar. And so welcome this morning. Thanks for being here. Haven't seen you in about a year. I'm looking at the flyer and I've seen her around in community. So thank you for being with us this morning. So first of all, good morning. And we'll allow you to say good morning to the audience and describe the RMV experience in one word.
Sure. Good morning, Boston. So happy to be here with the popular Java with Jimmy. This is a great way to connect with all of you and share what's going on. So I will say, describe the registry in one word: interesting, if you talk about your visit to the registry.
So anybody that knows me real well knows that that's my word. I use often. Interesting. If you really can't articulate it all, you don't know how to articulate it all. So there's some connection there. And so let me ask you first, how does someone, we had someone from the Mass Black Lawyers Association on yesterday, and we talked about her journey. How does someone land? What does the journey look like to where you land in a position where you oversee licensing and you oversee some level, all type of registrations and different things? So maybe with a little bit of the journey, and in the second part, we can talk about just some clarity to what the RMV actually does, and then definitely talk about the real ID requirement and some other things that you guys are doing. So the show is yours.
Sure. Well, thank you. So certainly when I started working my professional career, I didn't have an expectation that I would become Registrar of Motor Vehicles. And through circumstances and life experiences, state government is a wonderful place to work. If you care, if you lean in, if you want to be part of positive change. And that's what I'm all about. I started after college. I tried teaching. It really wasn't for me. At that time, I really missed having access to adult interactions, because certainly as a teacher in an elementary school, you're with children all day, and that is a wonderful profession. But at that stage in my life, that wasn't for me. I took a summer job at the registry, thinking it would just be a summer job. And this wonderful opportunity arose for me to join the training department. And one of my greatest fears was public speaking. But during my educational years, I had forced myself to try to learn and get over my fear of public speaking and take classes. And the training opportunity was the wonderful opportunity to really practice that, while you're also coaching and mentoring employees to learn new things and new policies and procedures. And I really found that very exciting. And that led into participation in many different projects and transformations the registry has made over the years. Certainly, you can imagine we've had a computer system since the mid 80s, but there were also many manual processes that we used in the 1990s, in the early 1990s. When you think about a permit test that you took for a driver's license, that was on a piece of paper with a pen or a pencil, and we scheduled that on paper. And then when you think of how we deliver those services today, it's on a touch screen on a computer, and you register for an appointment online. All of those things take planning, business transformation, software systems, business processes, policies, standard operating procedures. And I find those kind of things very exciting.
That is interesting. I just came on because I wanted to just nod with some, again, we're connected with the interesting word, but also you started going into, systems and structures and manual. I did hear you say that the system was there since the 80s. And so one thing that stood out, you started there as a summer job?
Yes.
So I don't know if I heard it, but how many years have you been at the registry?
This summer was 35-year anniversary. I started when I was 5.
We have sound effects and things here. Wow. Okay, so you, what some would say, have come up through the ranks.
Yes.
So you know basically all the ins and outs of the registry.
I would say a lot of them for sure, yes.
A lot of them for sure. Okay. And so with that, if we could just do about 30 to 45 seconds, not to minimize all the work that you guys do, but can we just do a one-on-one about what the registry does? The number one thing is licenses, driver's licensing and licensing, your license plate, but there's so much more that the registry does. And I'm going to get the website queued up as well.
Sure. So certainly everybody knows your license and registration, but we have a lot of regulatory responsibility that people may not recognize. We're really a multi-billion-dollar operation when you add up everything that we do. We are responsible for taking the civil motor vehicle citation. So if you get a ticket for speeding or missing a stop sign, we take those requests in payment. We take those requests for court hearings. We have regulatory responsibility over vehicle inspections, so vehicle safety and emission inspections. We license the inspection stations as well as the actual inspectors who do the vehicle inspections. We have oversight of the driver education system. So we regulate the schools, we license the schools, we license the instructors, we require them to adhere to the policies and procedures and the regulations that exist in Massachusetts. We have certainly a large business partner presence. So Massachusetts is a mandatory vehicle insurance state where when you register and title a vehicle, if you want to put it on the road, you have to demonstrate that you have auto insurance. And so we have electronic connections and processes with all of the major carriers that provide auto insurance in Massachusetts. So they are a large business partner that we have, as they're required to post the vehicle policies to our system. And then certainly when those policies lapse, they take their business actions. And in some cases, the registry might have to take some actions. So we have a lot of purview and responsibilities, making sure that there's many different economies that are working. We have a large relationship with insurance agents in Massachusetts and auto dealers. We have a program called Electronic Vehicle Registration, where participants in that program, whether you're a car dealership or an insurance agent, you use your system software that runs your business to collect certain specific data, and you have the ability to register the vehicle for your customers so that that customer would not have to come to the registry. So we have a lot of things going on. We also have a program called International Registration Plan. And what that is the trucks that you see that travel over many different states and many different miles receive a registration that is associated with their home state. And then the fees and all of the taxes are divided amongst all of the places that they drive based on a mileage chart and how much mileage they spend in each other state or possibly even Canada. So we have a lot going on at the registry on a daily basis.
I'm glad to get sort of a further and deeper understanding, because again, one of the major things that the registry is known for is on the license plate licensing, but also, and I, not that I, know from firsthand experience, but I forgot about the ticket and the citation part. And I'm sure you work also with the point system. Something feeds into that, the driver's points. And so there's a lot of a word we don't use in this space often, but there's a lot of intersectionality.
There is
with the registry. And so one of the main things, Registrar, is that you also oversee not just licensing, but regular IDs for young people when they need to get their first ID, just identification. Yes. And as I mentioned in the early part of the show, there is a change to that. And it's so wonderfully displayed on your website. There's a countdown to this. And so before we bring up the countdown, can we let folks know sort of what's going on with this concept? And I'm going to ask folks if you could just respond in the comments. Are you familiar with the concept of the new it's not that new, but the requirement of the real ID? And so, Registrar, what's happening come next May?
Sure. So May 7th of 2025 is actually what's called the compliance date for real ID. So back in 2005, Congress passed the Real ID Act in response to the 9/11 Commission's response to the terrorist attacks that happened in the United States. And the whole goal of the Real ID Act was really to set the standards for the issuance of sources of identification, such as a driver's license. And the act also established the minimum standards for state-issued driver's licenses and identification cards. So all of that work back in 2005 is now coming to fruition with the implementation of May 7th, 2025. So in Massachusetts, you, as a resident of Massachusetts, have the option when you apply for a Massachusetts identification card or a learner's permit, or you convert your license, of whether you want to go the route of a standard driver's license that has the words "not for federal ID" printed on it, or whether you want to go to the path for what's considered a real ID compliant driver's license that has a star symbol that's outlined in yellow or gold color in the upper right-hand corner of your driver's license. The difference between the two, the cost is the same, is that there's a few more documents related to your application that you're required to present when you pursue the Real ID option. Specifically, that means you need to present something that proves your Social Security number. So we validate that the Social Security number belongs to you electronically, but we need to see your card or a document with the full numbers of Social Security displayed. For residency requirements, applicants for a Real ID need to show 2 proofs of Massachusetts residency. For a standard, you only have to prove 1. And so pretty much those are the main differences. The Real ID is valid for the same amount of time as a driver's license, a standard or an ID card, which the standard time is 5 years.
So that change is coming, and you said May 7th?
May 7th is the compliance date. So what that means to all of you that are listening is that if you travel in the United States, some people say domestically, or you need to have the ability to go into a secure area in a federal building or in a nuclear power plant, then the federal government is requiring that you show a federally approved document as identification to board a plane traveling in the United States or going into the secure areas on a federal building. And one of the ways you can comply is with the state-issued driver's license or identification card that we call Real ID compliant.
So, and I refer to just, federal courts a lot. When I worked in different departments, we would house our events in those type of buildings, but it's almost any federal building that's secure. Not a lot of us will need, to show our ID at a nuclear plant. But those other buildings. So, for example, if you can't handle something at your local Social Security office and you need to go down to the federal security office, or you need to go visit the IRS, you might need the real ID come May to enter the building.
So I don't think that the Social Security Administration and IRS might allow it, but I think it's more based probably on federal courts.
Okay.
In some of that, but that's a really great question that I will follow up and provide an answer outside this show.
Okay, I definitely appreciate it with that. And so with overseeing, regular IDs and license plates, you all also are working on and overseeing the Workforce Modernization Act. And it is, can you tell us a little bit about that as well?
Sure. So last July 1st of 2023, I had the wonderful opportunity to be on your show last year when we implemented the Work and Family Mobility Act. And what that enabled is individuals who are mass residents who could not prove lawful presence would have the ability to apply for a standard driver's license. The law was very prescriptive in terms of the identification documents that were required. You also have to meet Massachusetts residency requirements. And we had a very successful launch and program with issuing standard driver's licenses to newly eligible residents. I'm very happy to say that when we compare data in issuance of driver's license and permits in that time period from July 1st of 2023 until July 1st of this year, we saw that the registry issued 123% more driver's licenses and 155% more driver's permits than we did the previous year, showing that there was a strong demand and the law enabled people to be eligible for a driver's license that hadn't been before. And we still are seeing sustained demand. We certainly had a peak in demand last year, but we are seeing and experiencing sustained demand.
Awesome. And forgive me, I said Modernization Act, but it's the mobility. But what for some families, it's a level of modernization and getting to modernization, because I think we both know that gives folks a different ability to travel, quicker travel, and, driving, and also, just want to appreciate those that are taking, public transportation as well. And so with all of that, Registrar, you mentioned a computer system since the 80s and whatnot. I'm sure that with you handling that increase of demand for the permits and licensing, the changeover to the real ID, can you tell us just a little bit about, and if anyone knows the systems at the RMV, you do. Can you tell us a little bit of the technological changes that you or your prior registrars have implemented to make a lot of this easier? You talked about touch screens. You talked about electronic vehicle registration. Any other thing that's going on in the background there to make the experience for the user as friendly as it can be? Sure.
So a little history. Motor vehicle departments are administered differently in different states. In Massachusetts, we have the wonderful ability that we have both the vehicle side of the services that are provided as well as the driver license services in the same agency. In some states, those responsibilities are separated amongst different secretariats. But in Massachusetts, the Registry of Motor Vehicles has had both sides of the business, the vehicle and the driver's side, since our inception. And with that, what the registry has always strived to back in 1986, when they implemented their first computer system, was integrated records, being able to know that Jimmy, your address, what vehicles you have registered, your driver's license, and then when you change your address, something simple like change your address, it updates your registration as well as your driver's license record. So that is a core requirement and responsibility the registry had built into its systems back in the 80s. Back in 2018, we implemented, and I was part of the effort to modernize our computer system. So we retired our old system known as ALARS, the Automated License and Registration System, and we implemented a new commercial off-the-shelf product by a vendor that is in the motor vehicle and the tax space for governments. And as part of that effort, we enabled a lot more technology, customer service improvements. So some of those things many of you may have experienced over the last 2 and 3 years, things like the My RMV account, where you can see your vehicles registered, you can see information related to your driver's license or your permit. You can actually, if you're an individual that has multiple vehicles, you could go in and renew them all at once on the system. So that enabled, and also from the employee side, the ability to more easily see all of the records associated with you based on different tabs and security privileges that our different levels of employees have. Related to that, it was wonderful to have that in place as we navigated the pandemic. Happy to say that the registry was only closed for 2 days during the pandemic, and then we reopened. And some of the things we implemented as part of that were customer service appointments, the ability to email consumers and give them updates on information that was changing or canceling their appointment and rescheduling. We were able to do what we call payment links, where we send an actual link to your email where you pay remotely after you've dropped something off, that if you didn't need to come to visit us again, you could pay it remotely. Or if you had a situation and you need somebody in your family to help you with that, they could do the payment link. It enabled us to offer additional transactions online for consumers. It enabled us to really improve what we call our pre-stage operation, or prepare for your visit with the registry. You can apply for a permit or an out-of-state conversion or an identification card on our website, complete the application online, and then what you get from that is a document that you can print out that tells you the answers to your questions, tells you what documents you said that you have for your identity, tells you what the cost will be for your transaction. And it's all those kind of things to help consumers be prepared. Because in life, we have people that are more type A personalities and get very prepared and go through the checklist. And then we have the rest of us who just like to live on the edge and not necessarily prepare. And so my advice to anybody interacting with the registry is you need to invest a little time in preparing. So depending on what business you're doing, it's really important to understand what are the requirements that exist for you to interact with us, whether it's for a driver's license renewal, a first-time permit, registering a car. There are requirements, and that's where the interesting part comes in. And certainly that leads to frustration, is that when you as a consumer aren't prepared and we turn you away, and our goal is not to turn you away, is that you get frustrated to have to visit us again. So our new system we also implemented called a standard letter, so that when you do have that situation where you come to us and you're missing something, so let's say you came in and applied for the Real ID and you only had one form of residency document, not the second, we would give you a document, a letter that told about what you still needed to complete your visit. So when you walk away from us, you know in writing what it is that you need to finish your application. And that was one of the really important benefits to me with the new system was, similar to also road test, is let me know why what just wasn't successful. So if I can't navigate this myself because I just don't understand, then I have the ability to meet with somebody in my family, my friend circle that can help me navigate this.
Let me ask you, Registrar, just off the top of my head as you were talking, as much as possible, are those letters available in other language than English when someone comes in? Is that something that the registry may be working on?
Yes. So with the implementation of work and family mobility, we added 15 languages for many of our checklists and information on licensing and registration, but it's still a work in progress. The language demand has been
great.
Certainly we learned a lot of the high demand that was out there, not only from the new customer base, but for customers that had already been coming in. So while we don't have the ability to print those out in other languages, there are things that we're working on to try to improve that customer interaction and communication.
Well, Registrar, whenever you have any updates, Java with Jimmy is here to make sure we get that. And thank you for, the comms team, George and others that reached out to make sure that this information is getting where it really needs to be. And so one of the things I wanted to just mention or highlight is I love how you framed it. Some type A personalities, they got the checklist, they got everything. Then there's the rest of us.
Right.
And so listen, if you're part of the rest of us, I wanted to let you know that right there, active in the comments, the first link, sort of the way the comments may work. I don't know if you see the most recent or whatever at the bottom, but there's a link here that says Massachusetts Registry of Motor Vehicles. That's where you can go and find out everything, get your checklist. You can also see the countdown to the Real ID. If you want information specifically about the Real ID, we've also hyperlinked another link in the comments where you can get that information. You can click on there in the website and actually see everything that is required. And you can also see that presently there are 238 days, 14 hours, 30 seconds, and 30 minutes and 30 seconds before the real ID is going to be required. So kind of can't say you didn't know, but in our reality, Registrar, we appreciate this effort of getting the information out to the community so folks know, and don't wait until May 6th.
Correct.
So
that's a really good point. Let's talk about that.
I was getting ready to say, Registrar, are you in all this preparation? Have you taken into consideration that there's going to be a big, wonderful rush from like May 1st?
Yes, it's part of our planning. It is definitely part of our planning to make sure we ramp up appointments and availability for that. So the consumer message, I'll say, is we're what's called a central issuance state. So we do not hand the final driver's license over the counter in any of our service centers. It gets mailed from a manufacturing facility. In us monitoring the mail over the last couple of years, other people may have experience. It takes longer at times to get things. So we're saying that you really, if you want the real ID and you have a trip planned, you should really apply for the real ID a month before your trip so that you get through the registry process, you get the document in the mail. It takes anywhere between 10 and 14 days, depending on where you live in the state, and that you are ready to go. So if you know you're traveling in May or after next summer and you do not have an active passport, please get ready and try to apply for the real ID.
Absolutely. And Registrar, if you don't mind, may I ask a couple of questions? Nothing crazy. And this one, so this is I have a group of kind of settled women. I call them the church mothers. And this is one of my most famous ones. When transferring plates to a new car, must all tickets be paid first? And she had the nerve to say, asking for a friend.
That's okay. We get a lot of asking for friends. So I will say that typically when you're transferring a plate, that's not an impediment. But if there's a specific situation offline from this call, if you want to pass a customer's information to me, we'll happily look it out. One of the things we didn't talk about is the registry is also somewhat in the unfortunate role of being an enforcer with things called the non-renewal program. So many years ago in the 1990s, the program was implemented to enable municipalities to recoup outstanding fees for excise tax, parking tickets, or abandoned vehicle tickets that went unpaid. Cities and towns mark registration and license records, typically when there's 2 or more. And then that stops your registration or your driver's license from being able to be renewed until those obligations are met. The registry is not able to collect the fees for those. Those have to be paid at the source of where they were issued. So if it's Boston, it would be Boston. Many of the cities and towns have vendors that have capabilities and online payment capabilities.
Mm-hmm.
And so typically for the renewals, we don't allow a renewal if you have outstanding tickets in a city or town.
One last question, and I'm sitting here laughing because what is the program called that you just called? The
non-renew program is what we call it. So your non-renew is your renewal is interrupted until your outstanding obligations are met.
I've participated in that program before.
Okay.
One last question and this is from my mom. And she says, I couldn't renew my license during COVID or get an appointment. I don't drive anymore. Will an ID work for me now? So Ma, I think you're asking, do you need to get the real ID? Is that what you're asking, Ma? Let me know real quick, Ma. But there was also, I think another one. Heidi had brought up that, and this is an automated system, and please let me know if I'm wrong, Registrar, but Heidi says here, just so they're saying I'm balanced, I was 32 cents short on a parking ticket. Why did I receive a notice stating that I won't be able to renew my license? Really, it took more money to send that than a notice, but it's an automated system, right? If it's not zero.
So the registry's role is simply acting as the gate of not allowing to renew. We don't have visibility necessarily into all the details of the ticket. So what we can see and know is somebody has 3 parking tickets in Boston or 10 parking tickets in Boston. We don't really know why and how much is owed typically. We just know that Boston has put a non-renewal marker on that license renewal or ID renewal. And so it's a valid question that would be great for if it was in the city of Boston, then the city of Boston parking enforcement.
So Heidi, that we learned something today. That's a municipality. That's triggered by the municipality.
Yes.
Because the registry,
yes.
The only sort of tickets that I believe the registry processes, if you will, are those. And this was my way of there's the white tickets, the citations, and then there's the most municipalities, either orange or light blue.
Mm-hmm.
So
we administer and take the payment and request for hearing for what is called the civil motor vehicle infractions.
Yes.
So you caught speeding, you don't stop at a stop sign, you get a ticket for operating negligently or changing lanes and not using a blinker, things like that. So we take the payments for those, or as a consumer, if you decide you don't want to pay it, that's an admission of guilt, you can ask for a court hearing and the registry will take the fee and process the request for the hearing and send that off to the court.
A lot of memories this morning. In my 20s, I was just all right, Registrar, thank you so much for being with us today. And as always, keeping us up to date with what's going on. And there's so much information that was shared. But one of the things that is very, very time sensitive is ensuring that if you need to update your ID, and I suggest that all of you, because you don't know if you'll have to travel for any reason. You don't know if you'll have to go into a federal court building for whatever reason. It could be good. Could have to go to some federal probate because some long lost family member left you $8.5 million. So, it's good just to have it. And again, Registrar, I believe you would agree with this. Don't wait till May 1st.
Don't wait. Do not wait.
May 15th. You're in the registrar on May 1st. And let's just own, and you work for a state agency, so we're not going to bash a federal agency, but sometimes the mail can be interesting. And so you want to, you
don't want to mess with that.
Yes, ma'am. All right, everybody. So let's make sure these 2 links are available to you. This is the one for the real ID. And further up in the comments is the one to just get any and everything that you need for the registrar. So we want to make sure, or for the registry, rather, we want to make sure you have that information. Did we miss anything today? Did we get everything covered?
I think so. I think there was one thing that I just wanted to do a quick consumer alert. That I know Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, online are popular places to buy cars. Certainly people that are looking for more affordable options, buyer beware, please be careful. There are very specific requirements when you buy a car that you need to insist you have. Do not give anybody money before you see paperwork. Vehicles have titles, a vehicle title. That title is the proof of the ownership of a vehicle. It's very important that goes from the seller to the buyer. And that document also has very valuable information on what we call title branding. It's your source to find out, was that car in a fire or a flood or other catastrophic event that may prevent safe and good operation of the vehicle for years to come. So do not hand anybody money without seeing a car. Do not hand anybody money without getting the proper paperwork, which in most cases would be the title for the vehicle. And do your due diligence of matching the information on the title when you look at the vehicle description with the vehicle that you're looking at. Does it have the same vehicle identification number? Is it the same model year, make, and description of what you'd say? Are there any brands on the title that indicate it was in the Hurricane Sandy flooding in New York many years ago in New Jersey? Those are consumer protection options. And unfortunately, we've dealt with some customers very sadly who have gone that route, and there really isn't anything that we can do to help them because they don't have the proper ownership documentation from those interactions.
All right. I want to be clear that you're not necessarily saying don't do that. But if you do, adopt that type A personality, and similar to
Yes.
everything you need for the registry, make sure that you dot every I and cross every T.
Yes.
Registrar, may I ask it if George can get this to me? Is there something on the website that sort of covers if you're considering buying a car, offline or from someone? Is there something or landing that just has maybe some points that later on we can share? Because I really want to make sure that we put this out to the community about that warning.
Sure.
People are struggling, think they find a deal, and unfortunately there's
Right.
some predatory type folks out
Yes.
there that aren't right. So if you give me anything in writing or a link to this, I'll make sure we get it out to the community.
Yes, we will be happily to support you on that because it's all about awareness and education. So thank you.
That's the essence of this platform. Registrar, thank you, because we could sit here another 10 minutes.
We could.
And thank you so much for being with us. And if you need to come back, let us know. We'll go ahead. And I think, okay, George, thank you. He's in the background saying he'll send me something. Why don't we go ahead and get you scheduled for like the 1st of April?
Okay, sounds perfect.
Look, maybe January, maybe April, because it will never be able to be said here in Massachusetts
Right.
that the folks listening here did not know.
Right. Awareness is great.
Awareness
and
is great.
education. So thank you. That'd be perfect.
Yes, ma'am. All
Look
right.
forward to it.
George, we'll follow up. And Registrar, thank you so much for being with us again.
All right. Thank you. Have a great day, Boston.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Folks, so please make sure you go check out those links and get the information that you need about the registry in general, also about the Real ID, so you're not found not having the information or can't enter a federal courthouse or can't travel. I text somebody this morning. I said, listen, you need to come on because I know they like to travel. So we want to make sure that everybody has that information. Listen, that's it for me this morning. We're going to get ready to wrap up. Tomorrow morning, for those of you that have been paying attention, you know that we've been talking a little bit about this thing called cuffing season. And so tomorrow we're going to talk with one of our partners that is partnering with us. That is not their messaging. That is my messaging, called Cuffing Season. And so that event is taking place next Thursday. We're going to drop the link and the information tomorrow with our guests, but come on tomorrow at 9:00. We're going to share some more information about that. There's also an event going on Thursday we can tell you about that I'm attending. So please plan to come tomorrow to find out who this partner is that's supporting this work around ensuring that we keep the numbers of HIV transmission, STI, specifically there's a rise in syphilis numbers across the country, and unwanted pregnancies. And they sent me some information on the numbers, and I'm getting some more information specifically to the Boston regional area. Those numbers are interesting. And so while on social media, we were joking about the cuffing season and the age, things like, and let me also say this. STDs, HIV, I don't know about unwanted pregnancy because, but our seniors, the numbers, somebody said yesterday on a call, I was talking about working with, some recreational senior centers and whatnot. That person said to me, oh, they're going to need some new sexual education in the nursing homes. So what we decided, well, I'll tell you all tomorrow about the age thing. All right, that's it. They'll be with us tomorrow morning at 9:00. So be prepared to come. Don't forget, everybody. Thank you. Sharon said her friend said thanks for the information. Sharon, I love you. Sharon Cadelius. I keep saying if anything ever happened to me, the second person that is known in this platform is Sharon, and also Mama Java as well. Please keep Miss T in prayer this morning. She is having a procedure, not too evasive, but she is having a procedure this morning. So please keep her in your thoughts. Heidi also affirms the fact that seniors are the fastest growing population of HIV. Imagine being 60, 65 years old. You don't need to mess around with a young thing, or I did say to the group yesterday that one of our shows is going to be on senior sex. What is the thing? I heard this old saying, Y'all not going to do like we did last Thursday. Sharon said, oh no, not the nursing homes on cuffing time. Let me find out nursing homes on. Anyway, I'm going to get off of here. Michelle, thank you so much. You have a blessed day as well. Good morning, Keys. Sharon, you just threw me off. Miss T is in surgery. I think I got everything covered. And that's it. Everybody have an amazing day. And Nancy, thank you for being in the room. All right. Nope, we're not doing it this morning. I'm getting off of here. We'll see you guys tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Have a great day, everybody. And thank you for being with us. And make sure you don't wait until the last minute to go get your real ID. Peace.